What's up guys, James here. I am back with another video. If you're new here, I like to share random tips, tricks, and we'll call them tutorials on web development. Specifically lately it's been about Etch, and today no different, will be about Etch. A lot of my videos happen because somebody asks a question in the private Etch community and I decide to answer the question with a video, and that is exactly what's happening today. Somebody asked a question about alt tags and images, and it was easier to make a video, I think, than to try to explain it via typing. So yeah, alt tags doesn't really require a lot of explanation or build up. So let's just go ahead and jump into this one. So we're going to look at a couple different ways of adding an alt tag to an image. So you might be tempted to, in this example, click on an image, come down here and type, I don't know, some alt tag, and save. And you may, if you're paying attention, you may already see what the problem is with that. Okay, but just in case, we'll go ahead and take a look. We'll right click and we'll look at this and we'll see we have an alt tag right here, some alt tag yo. You're thinking, oh, it worked. Well, guess what? This image also has the same alt tag, and this image also has the same alt tag. Why? Because they're in a loop. Okay, so if you look at the structure over here, we only have one card and we're looping this card. Okay, so that's why there's 3 cards here, because this is looping through something. We don't know yet. Maybe if you're paying attention you just saw, but it's looping through something, and so that's why we're getting 3 cards. So whatever you do to something like this image, it's going to apply to every single card. So that's why we can't just go in here and type in an alt text, because we can only type it in once, and then that's just going to get repeated for every single one. So how do we add a dynamic alt tag to these images? Well, it depends on where the images are coming from. In this case, we're looping through a JSON object. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to open up this loop, and we're going to see if I can get a little more space. Yeah, you can see we have 3 objects, I think they're called. We're going to call them that. And they're all the same: image, title, content, image, title, content. And that's what we're seeing right here: image, title, content. Okay, so all we need to do here, we'll add a little comma, we'll say alt, and let's say alt tag 1. And I'm going to copy this. Alt tag 2. And alt tag 3. We'll save. Now this of course isn't doing anything yet because we need to come back here to our HTML and actually grab that information, just like we're doing right here. Where are we at? Card. This image is the feature.image. That's coming from this loop. Feature.image. Okay. This title, feature.title, that's coming from this, and then the content is feature.content. Okay, that is this. So you're probably already kind of figuring out what we're going to do here. We're going to click on this image again, and for this alt tag we're going to delete that text. All we're going to do is say feature.alt. Okay, we're going to save that. Now let's go take a look. Here's alt tag 1, alt tag 2, and alt tag 3. So that's working. Okay, that's a JSON loop. That's not the only way to loop stuff, right? Let's go to this other website that I'm working on, and I'm going to delete this real quick. You didn't see that. You did not see that at all. We're going to save. This is just a single post template. Okay, so this is pulling in data from a single post, and if we look at this image, we'll see we don't have an alt tag yet. And again, if we come in here and we click on this and we just try to type some alt tag in there, it's going to have the same alt tag for every single post, and every single post doesn't have the same image, so that doesn't make sense, right? So once again, we need to dynamically add an alt tag. But we're not looping through a JSON object here, so how are we going to do that? Well, you're probably familiar with the fact that WordPress has built-in alt tag functionality on in their media library. So you can click on an image and you can see that there's an alt tag there. So we've added an alt tag here, but it's not showing up on the front end yet, as we just saw a minute ago. So how do we make it show up on the front end? Well, it's actually pretty simple. For a featured image, and I don't know why it works this way. I don't know why it's not featured image.alt, but if we do this, because it's a template, so we say this dot image dot alt. If we save that and we refresh this page, you'll see that we have an alt, Handy Quilter Moxie, and that's exactly what was typed here, Handy Quilter Moxie with 2 E's. Moxie with 2 E's. So now that we've done that, we can control the alt text in the WordPress media library. So that is, let me look at one more example here. So this is coming from another template. This is a taxonomy template. We have a grid, we have a loop, and this loop is not looping through a JSON object like the last one was. This is looping through a post type called machine. But it's going to be a similar similar strategy here that we just saw in the single post template. So the image here, machine.thumbnail, you can also do machine.featured image. They're not the same, but they're similar. We're going to do the same thing though. We're going to say, but instead of this, because since before it was a single page template, this is inside a loop. So instead of saying this, we're going to say machine, because that's what we called our loop, .image.alt. Okay, and you can see the loop here, as machine. That's where we're getting the word machine from. You can make this whatever you want. Let's save that, and let's go see if it did anything. Which one were we in? We were in the brand. So let's go look at some brands like Husqvarna. And let's find this image here. Alt tag, there it is. Husqvarna Viking Designer Epic 3. Is that right? Yep, that's the right one. This one should say Amber S. Let's look at that. Yep, Viking Amber Air S 500. So it's working. So that's 3 different ways to make sure you add a dynamic alt tag. If you're looping through post content, you're basically going to just use some variation of image.alt, right? Just like that. It might be this .image.alt if you're just on a single page template, or it might be whatever your loop that you called it is. In our case, it was machine.image.alt on this page. And then if you're looping through a JSON object, it's, you call it whatever you want. I called it alt because that just makes sense, but you can call that key whatever you want and then just reference that key in your HTML just like we did in this video. But I think that's it. That should pretty much cover, I think if you watch this video, you should now be able to handle adding a dynamic alt tag in pretty much any scenario. I think you can figure it out. So yeah, that's it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.